Tess did those things, but first she locked the front door behind her, then set the burglar alarm for the first time in months. When she saw armed flash in the little green window above the keypad, she at last began to feel something like her true self. She looked at the kitchen clock and was astounded to see it was only 11:15. While Fritzy was eating his fancy feast, she checked the doors to the backyard and the side patio, making sure they were both locked. Then the windows. The alarm's command box was supposed to tell you if something was open, but she didn't trust it. When she was positive everything was secure, she went to the front hall closet and took down a box that had been on the top shelf so long there was a scrim of dust on the top. "5 years ago there had been a rash of burglaries and home invasions in northern Connecticut and southern Massachusetts. The bad boys were mostly drug addicts hooked on 80s, which was what its many New England fans called OxyContin. Residents were warned to be particularly careful and take reasonable precautions. Tess had no strong feelings about handguns pro or con, nor had she felt especially worried about strange men breaking in at night, not then, but a gun seemed to come under the heading of reasonable precautions, and she had been meaning to educate herself about pistols for the next Willow Grove book, anyway. The burglary scare had seemed like the perfect opportunity. She went to the Hartford gun store that rated best on the internet, and the clerk had recommended a Smith Wesson .38 model he called a lemon squeezer. She bought it mostly because she liked that name. He also told her about a good shooting range on the outskirts of Stoke Village. Tess had dutifully taken her gun there once the 48-hour waiting period was up and she was actually able to obtain it. She had fired off 400 rounds or so over the course of a week, enjoying the thrill of banging away at first but quickly becoming bored. The gun had been in the closet ever since, stored in its box along with 50 rounds of ammunition and her carry permit. She loaded it, feeling better, safer with each filled chamber. She put it on the kitchen counter, then checked the answering machine. There was one message. It was from Patsy McLean next door. "I didn't see any lights this evening, so I guess you decided to stay over in Chicopee. Or maybe you went to Boston? Anyway, I used the key behind the mailbox and fed Fritzy. Oh, and I put your mail on the hall table. All adverts, sorry. Call me tomorrow before I go to work, if you're back. Just want to know you got in safe. Hey, Fritz, Tess said, bending over to stroke him. I guess you got double rations tonight. Pretty clever of why. Wings of grayness came over her vision, and if she hadn't caught hold of the kitchen table, she would have gone sprawling full length on the linoleum. She uttered a cry of surprise that sounded faint and far away. Fritzy twitched his ears back, gave her a narrow, assessing look, seemed to decide she wasn't going to fall over, at least not on him, and went back to his second supper. Tess straightened up slowly, holding onto the table for safety's sake, and opened the fridge. There was no tuna salad, but there was cottage cheese with strawberry jam. She ate it eagerly, scraping the plastic container with her spoon to get every last curd. It was cool and smooth on her hurt throat. She wasn't sure she could have eaten flesh, anyway. Not even tuna out of a can. She drank apple juice straight from the bottle, belched, then trudged to the downstairs bathroom. She took the gun along, curling her fingers outside the trigger guard, as she had been taught. There was an oval magnifying mirror standing on the shelf above the wash basin, a Christmas gift from her brother in New Mexico. Written in gold gilt script above it were the words "Pretty Me." The old Tess had used it for tweezing her eyebrows and doing quick fixes to her makeup. The new one used it to examine her eyes. They were bloodshot, of course, but the pupils looked the same size. She turned off the bathroom light, counted to 20, then turned it back on and watched her pupils contract. That looked okay, too. So, probably no skull fracture. Maybe a concussion, a light concussion, but as if I'd know. I've got a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Connecticut and an advanced degree in old lady detectives who spend at least a quarter of each book exchanging recipes I cribbed from the internet and then changed just enough so I won't get sued for plagiarism. I could go into a coma or die of a brain hemorrhage in the night. Patsy would find me the next time she came in to feed the cat. You need to see a doctor, Tessa Jean. And you know it. What she knew was that if she went to her doctor, Her misfortune really could become public property. Doctors guaranteed confidentiality, it was a part of their oath, and a woman who made her living as a lawyer or a cleaning woman or a realtor could probably count on getting it. Tess might get it herself, it was certainly possible. Probable, even. On the other hand, look what had happened to Farrah Fawcett, tabloid fodder when some hospital employee blabbed. Tess herself had heard rumors about the psychiatric misadventures of a male novelist who had been a chart staple for years with his tales of lusty daring-do. Her own agent had passed the juiciest of these rumors on to Tess over lunch not 2 months ago. And Tess had listened. I did more than listen, she thought as she looked at her magnified, beaten self. I passed that puppy on just as soon as I could.